At 3:47 a.m. on a Wednesday morning in Austin, Texas, my phone vibrated with a notification that would change my life forever. As a systems analyst at Dell for 10 years, I had developed an obsessive habit of setting up alerts for just about everything: emails, servers, bank accounts, even when my coffee maker finished brewing. My wife Rachel always teased me about it. "David, you're way too paranoid. Who needs to know instantly when someone spends $50? Someone who works in data security?" I always replied. "You never know when something suspicious might happen." Ironically, Rachel was about to find out exactly why I set up those alerts. The notification that woke me up that morning was from Bank of America. Alert: transfer of $18,500 made from joint account 2847 at 3:45 a.m. For a moment, I thought it was a mistake. $18,500? At almost 4 a.m., I grabbed my phone and checked the banking app. My heart nearly stopped. Transfer completed. $18,500 recipient. R. Mitchell, external account time. 3:45 and 12 seconds a.m. status. Approved. Rachel was sleeping next to me, breathing softly, looking like the same woman I married 8 years ago. But she had just transferred virtually all of our savings to an account I had never seen before. I got out of bed quietly and went to my home office. As a systems analyst, my first rule was always, gather all the information before you act. If Rachel was doing something suspicious, I needed to know exactly what was going on before I confronted her. I logged into our online bank account using my laptop. The transfer details showed that she had used our security token and her own password. This wasn't a hack or external fraud. It was Rachel deliberately transferring our money to an account in the name of R. Mitchell at Wells Fargo. R. Mitchell? Who the hell was R. Mitchell? I checked the account history for the last 3 months. What I found made me physically sick. There were other smaller transfers I hadn't noticed. $500 here, $750 there, always to the same R. Mitchell account. In total, over the past 2 months, Rachel had transferred nearly $25,000 to this mysterious account. How had I not noticed this before? Simple. The smaller transfers were below my $1,000 alert threshold. Rachel had been smart, making small withdrawals until tonight, when she transferred the large remainder. But Rachel didn't know one thing. I had recently lowered my alert threshold to $100 after a case of fraud at work made me more paranoid. That $18,500 transfer didn't just trigger an alert. It triggered an emergency alert that sent notifications to my phone, email, and even a backup SMS. Sitting in the darkness of my office, I realized that my wife had stolen practically everything we had built together. But why? And who was R. Mitchell? I decided to use my professional skills to find out. I opened my work laptop and began an investigation that Rachel would never have imagined I was capable of. First stop, check if R. Mitchell appeared anywhere on Rachel's social media. I logged into her Facebook account. She had never changed her password since we got married, using the same combination as always, our old address followed by the year we met. Over the past 6 months, there were consistent comments and likes from someone named Ryan Mitchell. I went to his profile, and my stomach turned. Ryan Mitchell, 28, CrossFit instructor in Austin. Shirtless photos, perfect smile, posts about living intensely and never settling for less. Even worse, on the most recent photos, I could see comments from Rachel like, inspiring, flexed biceps, and, I totally agree, fire. But what made me the most furious was a photo from 2 weeks ago. Ryan at a gym I recognized immediately, the same gym where Rachel had started CrossFit 3 months ago. I went back to my bank history and compared the dates. The first transfers to R. Mitchell started exactly 3 weeks after Rachel joined the gym. Rachel hadn't just cheated on me. She was financing her lover's lifestyle with our money. It was 5:30 in the morning when I finished my initial investigation. Rachel was still asleep, oblivious to the fact that I had discovered everything. But I wasn't going to confront her yet. Like any good systems analyst, I knew that information was power, and I needed a lot more information before I acted. I set up additional alerts on all of our accounts, including credit cards and even our savings account. If Rachel planned to continue stealing, I would know instantly. I also did something she would never expect. I started recording our morning conversations with a recording app that I discreetly activated on my phone. If Rachel was planning to leave me with the stolen savings, I needed evidence of everything. When Rachel finally woke up at 7 a.m., I was in the kitchen making coffee, as if it were a normal day. "Good morning, honey," she said, kissing me on the cheek. "Did you sleep well?" "Like a rock," I replied, watching every micro-expression on her face. "And you? Didn't you wake up during the night?" "No, why?" "Oh, my phone vibrated around 4 a.m. I thought it was work, but it was just a system alert." Rachel hesitated for a split second before responding. "That's too bad. At least it didn't wake me up." Lie number 1 of the morning. I had seen her use her phone at 3:30 a.m., well before the transfer. She was definitely awake when she stole our money. "Rachel," I said casually, checking my phone. "Do you remember Ryan from your gym? The one who always comments on your photos?" Her face turned red instantly. "Ryan? Oh, he's just an instructor there." "Why do you ask?" "Curiosity. He seems nice." "Yeah, he's professional." Lie number 2. And I was just getting started. That morning, while Rachel was getting ready for work, she worked part-time as a freelance graphic designer. I was developing a plan that would use all my experience in technology to find out exactly what my wife was up to. Rachel thought she had stolen our money while I was asleep. She didn't know she had just awakened a systems analyst determined to use every digital tool at my disposal to uncover the truth. More importantly, she had no idea that I already knew where our money had gone and was 3 steps ahead in the game she had started. After Rachel left for work that morning, I turned my home office into an investigation command center. 10 years working in data security had taught me that every digital action leaves a trail, and Rachel had just created one that I could follow to the end. First task: find out everything I could about Ryan Mitchell and the mysterious bank account. I started with a reverse lookup of his Wells Fargo account number. Using some professional tools I have access to through work, I discovered that the account had been opened just 4 months ago, exactly 1 month before Rachel started making the first transfers. This was no coincidence. Ryan had opened an account specifically to receive money stolen from my wife. Next, I used a social media monitoring tool I normally use for work to analyze Rachel and Ryan's interactions over the past 6 months. What I discovered made me sick to my stomach. Not only had they met at the gym, but they had been communicating via private DMs on Instagram since January. I was able to track their activity pattern. Rachel always went online on Instagram late at night, between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m., exactly when I was asleep. But the most devastating evidence came when I was able to access our home Wi-Fi router. As the network administrator, I could see all the data traffic. Rachel had been on video calls with someone via WhatsApp web almost every night for the past 8 weeks, always after I went to sleep. The video calls lasted between 45 minutes and 2 hours. Rachel was having virtual dates with Ryan Mitchell in our own home, using our internet, while I slept in the next room. I decided to take a bolder step. I discreetly installed a monitoring app on the tablet Rachel always used for work, a tablet that technically belonged to me, since I had bought it for shared use. Legally, I had the right to monitor a device that belonged to me. The app would give me access to messages, GPS location, and app activity. If Rachel was planning something bigger, I would find out. At 2 p.m., I received the first notification from her tablet. Rachel was at the Starbucks on 6th Street, but she wasn't working. She was on a WhatsApp video call with Ryan Flexed Biceps Red Heart. I was able to access her location remotely and saw that she stayed at that Starbucks for 3 hours. 3 hours that she would later tell me she had to work late on an urgent project. But the discovery that really destroyed me came at 4:30 p.m. Rachel sent a text message to Ryan that the app captured. "Babe, I transferred the rest today in the early morning. Now we have $43,000. Is that enough to start our life together?" David didn't suspect a thing. "He sleeps like a rock." Faced with tears of joy, Ryan replied, "Perfect, baby. I already found the apartment in Dallas. We can move in over the weekend. Your nerdy husband will never find out until it's too late. Rachel, I can't wait to get out of this fake life. I love you, Red Heart." Ryan, "I love you too. Soon we'll be free of him in Austin." I read those messages 3 times before the words really registered in my brain. Rachel hadn't just cheated on me and stolen our money. She was planning to disappear to Dallas with Ryan using everything we had built together over the past 8 years. But what hurt me the most was the way she talked about me. Nerdy husband. Sleeps like a rock. Fake life. 8 years of marriage reduced to cruel jokes shared with her lover. I called my brother Matt, who works as an insurance investigator in Houston. David, how's it going, man? It's been a while. Matt, I need a professional favor. Can you discreetly investigate someone for me? Marital problems? Worse. Rachel stole $43,000 from me and is planning to run away to Dallas with her lover. Man, I'm sorry. What do you need? I want you to investigate Ryan Mitchell. I have a feeling he has a history of doing this to other women. Send me his information. I'll see what I can find out by tomorrow. While waiting for Matt, I continued monitoring Rachel's digital activities. At 6 p.m., she was at work, but she was actually at a jewelry store in the Domain buying gold handcuffs with our joint credit card. $847 spent on wedding rings. For Ryan. When Rachel got home at 8 p.m., I was in the living room watching Netflix as if it were a normal day. Hi, honey. How was your day? She asked, kissing me on the forehead with the same falseness she had shown me for the past few months. Fine. I worked from home today. How about you? How did the urgent project go? Stressful, but I managed to finish it. I had to stay late at Starbucks because the internet at home was slow. Line number 3. Our internet was working perfectly. I had monitored the bandwidth all day. Glad you finished, I said, watching her hide a small jewelry box in her purse. Rachel, can I ask you something? Sure. Have you been thinking about us? About our life together? She hesitated, and for the first time in months, I saw something that looked like real guilt in her eyes. Why do you ask? I don't know. Sometimes I feel like you're distant. Like you're thinking about something else. David, don't be paranoid. I'm just stressed out about work. Maybe we should take a trip together. How about Dallas? I hear it's a nice city. Her face went white. Dallas? Why Dallas specifically? I don't know. It was just a random suggestion. I'd rather go somewhere else. Dallas doesn't appeal to me. Interesting. The woman who had been planning to move to Dallas with her lover suddenly had no interest in the city. That night, while Rachel was taking a shower, I quickly checked the jewelry box she had hidden. It was a gold men's wedding band engraved with "To Ryan, Forever, R. Forever." She had spent nearly $900 of our last dollars on an engagement ring for the man who was helping her steal me. But Rachel didn't know that her every digital move was being monitored. Every message, every location, every purchase. She thought she was being smart, but she had completely underestimated what a systems analyst could uncover when they really put their mind to an investigation. At 11:30 p.m., like clockwork, Rachel grabbed her tablet for her late-night work session. In reality, she opened WhatsApp for another secret video call with Ryan. This time, I managed to intercept partial audio through the monitoring app. Honey, I bought your wedding ring today, Rachel whispered. I can't wait to see it on you. You're amazing, baby. 2 days, and we'll be free. David doesn't suspect a thing. He's completely oblivious. I smiled to myself in the dark. Rachel thought I was completely oblivious. She had no idea that I had gathered enough evidence not only for a divorce, but for criminal charges of theft and marital fraud. My phone vibrated with a message from Matt. David, you need to hear this. Ryan Mitchell is worse than you think. Much worse. The investigation was about to reveal that my wife hadn't just cheated on me with any man. She had become involved with someone who did this for a living. The next morning, Matt called me at 7 a.m. with information that turned my anger into something much colder and more calculated. David, sit down. Ryan Mitchell isn't who he says he is. What do you mean? First, his real name is Ryan Matthews, not Mitchell. Second, he's done this before. 3 times. I felt the blood drain from my face. What? Over the past 5 years, Ryan has pulled the same scam on 3 different married women. He approaches them at gyms, seduces them, convinces them to steal money from their husbands, and then disappears with the funds. His last victim was in San Antonio 8 months ago, and the other women. One lost $35,000 in her marriage. Another lost $28,000 in her house when she couldn't pay the mortgage. The third, in San Antonio, lost $52,000 and attempted suicide when she found out Ryan had disappeared. I was silent, processing the information. Rachel hadn't fallen in love with a personal trainer. She had become the next mark of a professional con artist. Matt, is there more? Much more. Ryan has at least 4 different identities that I've been able to find. He rents temporary apartments using prepaid cards, never stays in the same city for more than a year, and always has an escape route planned. Escape route. David, I have bad news. Ryan isn't planning to run away to Dallas with Rachel. He's planning to run away to Dallas alone, with her money. How do you know? Because I found records of 3 plane tickets he bought yesterday. Dallas to Miami, Miami to Cancun, and Cancun to Costa Rica. All under the name Robert Miller, another one of his identities. My world stopped. 3 tickets. 3 tickets. One for each identity he uses when he runs away. David, your wife is about to find out that the love of her life is a sociopath who is going to leave her penniless, without a husband, and probably facing criminal charges alone. I sat down heavily in the office chair. Part of me felt a dark satisfaction. Rachel was about to be betrayed exactly as she had betrayed me. But mostly, I felt a cold determination to make sure that both Rachel and Ryan faced the consequences of their crimes. Matt, what kind of evidence do you have? Everything documented. Fake birth certificates, fraudulent apartment applications, bank statements showing the pattern of previous scams. I even have contact with the other victims. They're willing to testify. What about the legal aspects? David, Rachel committed marital theft, bank fraud, and conspiracy. Ryan committed identity fraud, extortion, and is a serial criminal. You two have a solid federal case. That afternoon, I decided to take the next step. Using the monitoring app, I saw that Rachel was meeting Ryan at his apartment at 3 a.m. It was time to collect video evidence. I drove to the apartment complex in South Austin where Ryan was temporarily living. Using a small camera I normally use to document IT equipment at work, I was able to film Rachel entering the apartment with 2 large suitcases. She was moving out today, 2 days earlier than they had originally planned. Through the monitoring app, I was able to intercept a phone conversation between them. Baby, why did we change the date? Rachel asked. Because I want to start our new life as soon as possible, Ryan replied. Besides, we'd better get out of Austin before your husband finds out. David will never find out. He hardly pays any attention to me. Even so, we'd better be cautious. Tomorrow morning, we'll hit the road for Dallas. That was a lie. Ryan was planning to run away alone while Rachel was asleep. That night, Rachel came home late, claiming she had worked late again. She brought only a small backpack. The rest of her things were already at Ryan's apartment. David, I have to travel to Dallas early tomorrow. A new client wants to meet me in person. Dallas? What a coincidence. You said you didn't like Dallas. I changed my mind. It's only for 1 day. I'll be back tomorrow night. Final lie. Rachel would never return home, at least not voluntarily. What time do you leave? Early. Around 6 a.m. Don't worry about waking up. Perfect. That would give me enough time to execute my plan. That night, while Rachel pretended to sleep next to me, I implemented the final phase of my investigation. I sent all the evidence I had collected to Matt, including bank statements showing all the fraudulent transfers, screenshots of the messages between Rachel and Ryan, video of Rachel moving into his apartment, audio recordings of the intercepted conversations, evidence of Ryan's true identity and his previous scams. I also prepared a surprise that Rachel and Ryan would never expect. I alerted federal authorities about their operation, providing enough evidence for search and seizure warrants. At 5:30 in the morning, I heard Rachel get up quietly. She got dressed in the dark, grabbed her backpack, and whispered bye, as if she were leaving for a normal day at work. But instead of going to work, Rachel was going to meet a professional criminal who planned to abandon her after stealing everything she had stolen from me. At 6:15 a.m., I received the first GPS notification showing that Rachel had arrived at Ryan's apartment. At 6:30 a.m., my phone rang. Mr. Thompson? This is Agent Sarah Rodriguez with the FBI. We are executing search warrants based on the information you provided. We have found the suspects. Both of them? Yes, sir. Ryan Matthews was trying to leave the apartment alone when we arrived. Rachel Thompson was inside, apparently unaware that he was fleeing without her. And the money. We recovered $31,000 in cash, as well as documents showing additional transfers they planned to make today. Mr. Thompson, your wife and her accomplice completely underestimated your investigative abilities. I smiled for the first time in days. Agent Rodriguez, I'm a systems analyst. Tracking digital activity is literally my job. Well, your job just gave us one of the most well-documented cases of marital fraud I've ever seen. Both of them are being charged with conspiracy, bank fraud, and in Ryan's case, federal identity fraud. As the FBI arrested my wife and her con artist lover, I sat in my home office reflecting on the last 3 days. Rachel had thought she could steal from me while I slept, unaware that I had set up systems that would alert me instantly to any suspicious activity. But more importantly, she had chosen to betray our marriage with exactly the kind of criminal she herself was becoming. Ryan had planned to betray her just as she had betrayed me. The difference is that I found out in time to ensure that justice was served. Rachel would find out too late that she had picked the wrong criminal and underestimated the wrong husband. The bank alert had saved not only my money, but my entire life. 2 hours after the arrest, I got a call I had been waiting for. It was Rachel, calling from the Travis County Jail. "David, thank God you answered. I need you to come get me. There's been a terrible misunderstanding." Misunderstanding? I kept my voice calm, but I could feel the satisfaction growing. "Rachel, explain to me what kind of misunderstanding involves $43,000 stolen and plans to flee to Dallas with a professional con artist." Total silence on the other end of the line. "Rachel, are you still there?" "David, how did you find out about Dallas?" "Rachel, I know everything. I know about Ryan Matthews. Yes, that's his real name. I know about the 3 other women he stole from before you. I know about the apartment in South Austin. I know about the ring you bought him. I know about all the bank transfers from the last 2 months. That's impossible. I'm a systems analyst, Rachel. Did you really think you could steal $43,000 from someone who works in digital surveillance, and I wouldn't find out?" I heard her start to cry. "David, I can explain everything. Ryan told me you never really loved us, that I deserved to be happy." "Rachel, Ryan is a career criminal. He said the same thing to 3 other married women in the last 5 years. And do you know what he was planning to do this morning? No. Run away to Costa Rica. Alone. With our money. He had 3 plane tickets bought under fake names. You would never see him or the money again. That can't be true." "Rachel, when the FBI arrived at his apartment this morning, Ryan was leaving through the back door with a suitcase full of cash and fake documents. You were inside packing your things for your romantic move to Dallas. He was literally running away without you." Her crying intensified. "David, please, you have to help me. This was all a huge mistake." "A mistake?" "Rachel, you systematically transferred our money to a criminal for 2 months. You lied to me every night. You bought a wedding ring for another man with our credit card. What part of that was a mistake?" I was confused. "Ryan told me we were soul mates." "Rachel, Ryan told his last victim in San Antonio that they were soulmates. That woman lost $52,000 and tried to kill herself when she found out he was gone. That's what you call soulmates." "David, please. I'm your wife. We can work this out." "No, Rachel. You were my wife. Now you're someone who forged signatures, stole our money, and conspired with a federal criminal. There's a difference. What do you want me to do?" "Nothing. You've done everything. Now you're going to face the consequences." "David, please. I have no one else. My family will abandon me when they find out about this. You should have thought about that before sending those messages laughing at me to your criminal lover." You read our messages?" "Rachel, I have recordings of all your secret video calls, screenshots of all your messages, video evidence of you moving into his apartment, and complete records of every fraudulent bank transfer. You completely underestimated who you married." Long silence. "David, what's going to happen to me?" "You're facing federal charges of conspiracy, bank fraud, and marital theft. Ryan is facing charges of identity fraud, extortion, and operating a criminal enterprise in multiple states. You could get anywhere from 5 to 15 years, depending on your plea deal." "What about the money?" "The FBI recovered $31,000. The rest Ryan had transferred to offshore accounts that will probably never get back." "But Rachel, even if we got it all back, do you think I'd consider going back to someone capable of doing what you did?" "David, I've changed. I can be different." "Rachel, you haven't changed. You've revealed who you've always been. Someone capable of stealing from her own husband to fund an affair with a criminal. Someone capable of mocking me with that criminal while planning to abandon me." "But David, there are no buts, Rachel. You made your choices. You chose to trust a professional con artist instead of talking to me about our problems. You chose to steal instead of being honest. You chose to run away instead of working on our marriage. I heard her sniffling on the other end. David, please, at least visit me in prison. No, please. You're the only person Rachel, you literally told Ryan that I was a nerdy husband who sleeps like a rock and that our life was fake. Why would I visit someone who has so much contempt for me? I didn't mean. Yes, you did. And that's what showed me who you really are. I hung up the phone and leaned back in my chair. For the first time in 3 days, I felt genuine peace. My phone rang again immediately, but it was Agent Rodriguez. Mr. Thompson, I have good news. Ryan Matthews just confessed everything in exchange for a reduced sentence. He confirmed that his wife was planning to steal additional funds from your retirement accounts this week. Retirement funds? Apparently, Rachel had forged your signature on documents to access your 401k. If we hadn't intervened today, you would have lost another $67,000. A chill ran down my spine. Rachel wasn't just stealing our savings. She was planning to steal my entire retirement. Agent Rodriguez, what kind of deal can Rachel get? Based on Ryan's cooperation and the evidence you provided, she will likely receive between 2 and 4 years in prison, plus full restitution. Mr. Thompson, I can say that your investigative skills saved not only your money, but potentially the lives of Ryan's future victims. How so? Ryan was arrested with documents identifying 2 other married women in Houston whom he was investigating as his next targets. Your investigation disrupted a multi-state criminal operation. That afternoon, as I was processing everything that had happened, I received a text message from an unknown number. Mr. Thompson, I'm Maria Santos, one of Ryan's previous victims in San Antonio. Agent Rodriguez gave me your contact information. I wanted to thank you for stopping this monster. He destroyed my life, but at least now other women are safe. Thank you for being smarter than all of us. That message made me realize something important. Rachel hadn't just betrayed me. She had become a predator herself, helping Ryan identify future victims. The FBI had found research she had done on the wives of my colleagues at Dell, women who were likely to become Ryan's next targets. My wife had turned from victim to active criminal. At 6 p.m., Matt called me with the final update. David, it's over. Rachel has accepted a deal. 3 years in prison, restitution of $35,000, and full cooperation against Ryan. Ryan got 12 years without parole. And the divorce? Automatic. Proven marital fraud automatically nullifies the marriage in Texas. You get to keep all the assets, including the house, cars, and retirement accounts. I hung up and looked out the window of my home office. 3 days ago, I was a betrayed husband who had discovered that his wife was stealing from him. Today, I was a free man who had used his professional skills to dismantle a federal criminal operation. Rachel had believed she could steal from a systems analyst while he slept. She hadn't counted on automatic bank alerts, advanced digital monitoring, and a husband determined to uncover the truth. The $18,500 alert at 3:47 a.m. hadn't just awakened me to a theft. It woke me up to who my wife really was. And it gave me the opportunity to ensure that both she and her criminal accomplice faced full justice. Sometimes, being paranoid about technology really pays off. 2 years after that life-changing bank alert, I was sitting on the deck of my new home in Cedar Park, 20 minutes from Austin, setting up security alerts for my new smart home system. Some things never change. I'm still paranoid about technology, but now I have even better reasons to be. After the trial, I sold our house in Austin, a place that held too many memories of Rachel, and bought a smaller, more modern property in the suburbs. With the money I recovered and a promotion at work, my company was impressed with how I used my analytical skills to solve a criminal case. I was able to retire early at age 37. Now I work as a digital security consultant, helping people and companies set up monitoring systems to prevent exactly the kind of fraud Rachel tried to pull on me. Ironically, my experience being robbed by my own wife has made me one of the most sought-after consultants in Texas. More importantly, I met Emma Rodriguez 8 months ago. She is a computer science professor at UT and an expert in digital ethics. Unlike Rachel, Emma appreciates my technological paranoia. In fact, she helped improve my monitoring systems and even suggested new alerts I had never considered. When we had our first serious argument about where to spend the holidays, Emma sat down with me at the kitchen table with her laptop, and we created a shared spreadsheet to weigh the pros and cons of each option. Solving problems with data instead of lies and betrayal. What a revolutionary concept. My phone buzzed with a familiar notification, a bank alert. But this time, it was just Emma transferring $50 to our joint account to cover her share of last night's dinner. Total transparency, as we always agreed. More alerts. Emma asked, looking up from her book. Just you paying your share of dinner. No big deal. You know you can lower the alert limit, right? $50 is pretty low. I smiled. I know. But now I like to know about every transaction. It makes me feel in control. Emma nodded, understanding perfectly. She knew the whole story about Rachel and Ryan, and instead of judging me for being paranoid, she respected the trauma and even learned from it. My phone rang. It was Agent Rodriguez, who had become a friend throughout the legal process. David, how's it going? I have news about Rachel. What happened? She's being released next week. She served 2 years and 3 months with good behavior. But there's something I thought you'd like to know. Go ahead. Rachel tried to contact 2 of Ryan's other victims while she was in prison. Apparently, she was trying to set up some kind of support group, but she was actually gathering information about the financial damage Ryan caused. What for? We don't know yet, but it sounds like she was planning some kind of legal action against Ryan to get money back. The problem is that Ryan has no assets. He spent everything. So Rachel was probably considering suing you. I felt a familiar anger, but it was more controlled now. She wants to sue me? That was her plan, but I spoke with the public defender. I explained that you were the victim, not the perpetrator, and that any legal action against you would be frivolous. The lawyer agreed to discourage that strategy. And now Rachel gets out of prison with no money, no home, no job, and a federal criminal record. She's going to live with her mother in Waco and work any job that will hire an ex-con. After hanging up, Emma approached me and put her hand on my shoulder. Are you okay? Rachel gets out of prison next week. And apparently she was considering suing me. She wants to sue you? Why? From what I understand, because Ryan spent all the money and she wants someone to blame for her problems. Emma shook her head. Unbelievable. She steals from you, conspires with a criminal, goes to prison, and still thinks you owe her something. Exactly. David, you know she has no legal case, right? You were the victim. You provided evidence that led to her conviction and saved other people. I know. But it's still frustrating that she keeps trying to hurt me. Emma picked up her laptop. How about we set up some preventive alerts? We can monitor if she tries to open fraudulent bank accounts or use your identity for anything. I smiled. That was the difference between Emma and Rachel. Emma used technology to protect us. Rachel had used technology to betray me. 3 weeks later, I got a call from a number in Waco that I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. David, it's Rachel. Rachel, what do you want? David, I know I made terrible mistakes. But I spent 2 years in prison thinking about everything I did. About how I destroyed our life together. Rachel, you didn't destroy our life together. You revealed that there never was a real life together. At least not on your side. David, please. I'm living with my mother, making $8 an hour at a cleaning job. I have nothing. Not even a car. And, can we talk? Maybe about a second chance? I looked out the window at Emma, who was in the garden planting flowers, something Rachel never had the patience to do. Rachel, let me ask you a question. Do you remember the last message you sent me before you were arrested? David, do you remember? Because I do. You told Ryan that I was a nerdy husband who slept like a log, and that our life was fake, and that you couldn't wait to be free of me. I was confused. Ryan was manipulating me. Rachel, you helped Ryan research other victims. You weren't just manipulated. You became an active part of his criminal operation. David, people change. I've changed. Maybe you have, Rachel. But I've changed too. And the new me understands that some betrayals are too big to forgive. So you won't help me. Rachel, you stole $43,000 from me, conspired to steal my retirement, planned to run away with a criminal, and then considered suing me from prison. Why would I help someone who clearly sees me as a target instead of a person? Because you're a good person? Being a good person doesn't mean being stupid, Rachel. You burned that bridge when you decided stealing was easier than talking. David, please. You're the only person who... No, Rachel. I'm the last person who should be helping you. You made this your problem when you chose to betray our life together. I hung up and immediately blocked his number. Emma came in from the kitchen 5 minutes later and found me still holding the phone. Was that her? Yes. She wants a second chance. Emma sat down next to me. And you? I told her some betrayals are too big to forgive. And how do you feel about that? Good. For the first time, completely fine. That night, as Emma and I set up security alerts for our new joint account, we were planning to get married in the fall. I reflected on how that bank alert at 3:47 a.m. had saved my life in a way I never could have imagined. Without that alert, Rachel would have stolen our entire retirement and disappeared with Ryan. I would have woken up to find an empty house, zeroed out accounts, and probably a note saying she needed to find happiness. Instead, my technological paranoia allowed me to uncover the truth, document the crimes, and ensure that both Rachel and Ryan faced full justice. 2 years later, Rachel was living with her mother and earning $8 an hour. Ryan was serving 12 years in federal prison. And I was planning to marry a woman who respected my intelligence instead of trying to exploit it. The bank alert hadn't just alerted me to a theft. It had alerted me to who my wife really was, given me the opportunity to protect myself, and led me to discover the kind of relationship I truly deserved. Sometimes, technology doesn't just protect your money. It protects your entire life. And sometimes, discovering that you married a criminal is the best thing that can happen to you, especially when it leads you to someone who sees your paranoia as intelligence and your technological precision as a virtue, not an annoyance. Emma and I went to bed that night with our phones set to shared alerts on all accounts. Total transparency, real trust, and the peace of mind that comes from being with someone who chooses honesty over betrayal. The alert that saved my life continues to work perfectly.